Welcome back to Word Blindness Dyslexia Exposed. This is Juliet Hahn here with my co-host, Brent Sopel, on a Monday. November.
You always, that's crazy.
I sing song, I know.
God was so excited for getting an extra hour of sleep.
I know. That was nice.
And it was, we were talking when we woke up, like, oh, how easy it is because our cell phones just changed, right? But back in the day when we didn't have cell phones, we had, alarm clocks and
we had
change
games. Everything.
Yeah, because it was always Saturday night, right? So you had to get up for practice or
and you didn't want to fuck it up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting because we can talk offline about this, but I'm getting very in touch with my dyscalculia. I think I actually have some issues behind it that I haven't dealt with. And it's come up recently. And I'm really like, Jesus, just leave me alone. I don't need to grow any fucking more. I've evolved. So there's a couple things, but one of the things this is the funny side, because there's a lot that's not funny that I'm silently dealing with, and I will share it as I'm comfortable, as I do. However, the daylight savings, the switching of the clock, I always know, like, you spring forward, you fall back. I get that. That's easy. But then throughout the day, and it's like a joke because my Dan always is like, oh, here we go. He knows for like a couple of days. I'm like, but it really feels like I'm really hungry because it really is. I need to go to bed because it feels like this. And I need to wake up because it feels like this. And he's like, it doesn't feel like that. It's not that. It's this time. And he does not get it. And it is like every year.
That's
he's like,
funny.
Oh boy, here we go again.
Here we go. So they were trying to lobby to not change it.
I know. And I thought
so
that
you were probably excited about that.
I was very excited because I also hate that it gets so dark at night. Like that, I hate that. Like at 5 o'clock now it's like dark. And I'm like, okay.
Isn't it nice?
No, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like it.
She said her psychologist told her, in the winter, when it's dark, your body's supposed to be resting. So during the winter, you're supposed to be resting.
Well, like a bear, hibernation.
Yeah. I've never thought about
that's true. That makes sense. Well, because then if you think about the cavemen, it totally makes sense.
And that's the Bearstein Bear hibernation.
I love Bearstein Bears. Oh my God, I used to love every single one of those.
The Bearstein Bear. Didn't they have that little song?
Yeah, and they had a show. Yeah. I loved it. I loved the Bearstein Bears. So if anyone didn't hear what Elizabeth said on the side, which is really, it's true. She was saying,
I never heard that before. That's the first time.
She was told that your body's supposed to be resting and you're supposed to be taking care of yourself in the winter and kind of recharging for the new season, which I like, but
well, so the only time your body heals is when you're sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
So in correlate that back to you're supposed to be sleeping more in the wintertime, right? So it does make sense to that point. Look at that. That's Monday. We learned something new today. Boom.
Look at that.
And it's
Look
only
at us.
10:18. Wow.
Yeah.
But
it really feels like 11 to 18.
Oh, geez. Dan, I support you because I could.
Every year he's like, oh my God, I think that it's going to stop. And I'm like, I'm just processing it in my brain and I have to articulate it.
So you'd love story time. When I played in Russia, so I played in the city in the middle of Siberia. So it was a 5-hour flight east from Moscow. It was a 5-hour time change. So from Moscow to the Chinese border, that whole thing, 7-hour time change.
Oh, wow.
So, we were a team would come play us from Moscow. They would stay on Moscow time. So let's just say they practice at noon, their time every day. Now, where we were, that would be, 6 p.m. So they literally would stay on their time. And then when you went out to the 7-hour time change, they'd have a practice at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, geez.
Because they're staying on their time, keeping their body on their time, go home, eat, sleep, wake up, play the game, and fly back. So,
wow.
Having a 7-hour time change in one country.
That's crazy, right? Yeah. I would not do well as a Russian. Or maybe I would. Maybe that would have actually snapped me out of.
I grew up in the only country, so Arizona and Saskatchewan don't change time. So every time
I knew Arizona. Yeah. I didn't know Saskatchewan.
So now back home, I think we're on the same.
And also, why do they do that? That's so confusing. When I make because there's a couple doctors that we have in Arizona that I need to make Zooms, and that fucks me every time because they're like, remember, we didn't change. And I'm like, oh God, well, I don't remember what time it was in your time. What are you?
Yeah. So Saskatoon, we're now on the same time. So all summer long, we're an hour difference.
That's so interesting. But again, who makes this up? And why can't it just all be the same? It makes me nuts. Now I know it has to do with the sun and all of that, like where the sun's setting in certain areas, like why the West Coast is at that time. I understand that. That doesn't throw me.
This is a hell of a podcast starting.
We're kind of getting into this dyscalculia, my dyscalculia. Oh, anyways, but it is like a really interesting thing. And I don't remember now why we talked about it because now my attention deficit's going to hit. Oh, because of the sleep. So I try like last night. I was like, you know what? I'm changing my workout schedule. This is why it all is. I'm changing my workout schedule to work out a little bit earlier. So then I can start my day a little bit earlier because we're getting more busy. And I'm like, you know what? It's better. And if Dan goes back to work and he goes into the city, I really like the 2 to 4 when the kids, like if Penelope doesn't have Truman picking her up, I do need to kind of push. So I'm starting to try to like think about that. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to think about that and be like, okay, daylight savings is happening now. This is a good time for me to do that. So this morning I was up, right? I was up at like 5. I'm like, oh, okay, this is great because it's normally 6. Now I get I can do some meditation and I feel good. And last night I did go to bed a little earlier, but this weekend I stayed up really, really late to I was driving people around. I didn't do that on purpose, but it is for everyone to process things. Everyone, like, again, we talk about the processing thing. Like, and if your kid is asking you all these questions, they're not trying to be annoying. They're just trying to grasp it in their brain. Like, that's why people ask questions. They're just trying to grasp it in their brain to figure out, okay, why do I feel this way? Or this is it. Like, that's why I was hungry early last night. Dan's like, well, I'm going to cook at this time. And I'm like, oh, but then I'm going to, like, that's late. He's like, it's not because now it's 6. I'm like, but it's really 7.
Oh my.
I was like, my body is hungry. I can't just do it. I need to like gradually do it. Why do we have to just like do it? Yeah.
Oh, we got a little peanut gallery over in a corner dying laughing. That's like, so when I wake up in the morning, I'm gone. Out calling, can do whatever. She's like, who the fuck are you calling right now? We've only been awake for like 2 hours. I'm like,
right. But do you, I wake up.
10 minutes out, I can get up. I never hit snooze on my alarm once in my life.
I don't even use an alarm
until I was 40.
At 40. Yeah.
Well, that's when hockey ended. You know, I never hit snooze. I was up, gone, and
Yeah, you're a morning person. I don't even set an alarm. I set it just in case for whatever reason, but I am up before my alarm. My alarm never goes off.
People say that. I think my body's so fucking whacked out that it doesn't know what is all up or down. Right. Well, I playing hockey. Your body's, go back to that earlier comment, is your body's supposed to ramp up during the day, then the evening go down. Well, mine was the opposite.
Right.
We ramped up at night. So for 20 years, was doing the opposite.
Yeah.
And you're still going to adrenaline rush at 3 a.m.
No, jeez. No, I can wake up easy. I can like just get ready and go. Where I know like other people they need to like slowly. The rest of my house, not really a lot of morning people in my house. So I just kind of do my thing.
Do your thing.
I do my thing. So we had an interesting conversation today because we've had as always, a lot of questions regarding neuropsychs. It's kind of the time in the beginning of the school year where, I mean, not in the beginning because now we're in November, but still we're in the first half of the school year for a lot of people. And it's like, okay, I'm seeing this. Would you get a test? Would you just go through the school? Would you do this? And so there's a lot of things that I don't think I know parents don't completely understand this process, nor should they, because no one's really telling them, right? It's like,
Right. They're
it's
not
like,
sharing
oh,
it. It's not open
yeah.
information.
Yeah. So do you want to start or do you
Good.
want me to?
You're
Okay.
good.
So one of the things is if you all of a sudden see that your child is starting to struggle and you're having some concerns, a lot of times we go to the school because it's like they're in school, right? You start talking
Yeah.
to the teacher and you're like, okay, I'm seeing these concerns. And if the teacher's educated, that's great. You know, as you've heard us talk many times, some teachers are not educated in college. That's not their fault. That's higher ed, that's whoever. But you go to them and they have a process. So if a parent comes to a teacher, then they have to follow a certain process.
Correct.
And they're going to suggest that the school psychologist test the student and then they can give them kind of intervention if the student classifies for that, right? Go ahead.
No, and everybody's going to them for the label, but they don't get it.
Right.
And so and this is what we rant and rave all about, no school psychologist can diagnose dyslexia, dysgraphia, the 4Ds that we talk about. They only use learning disability or learning difference.
Right. They can identify a problem, but they are not a medical, even if they have a medical background, even if they're the district, you cannot in a school district, you cannot diagnose any of the 5Ds. You have to go outside.
Right. They can think you have, and, it's funny to think back how many parents have we spoken to that's gone through the school and said, my kid is just, dyslexic, but they've never been diagnosed. They've only been diagnosed with a learning difference.
They've been identified, right?
Identified, not diagnosed. And I think
that's very different.
Very, very, very different. And it's got me thinking, it all obviously it all makes sense. But doing it that way, they have so much control. It's scary.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like the country UK, you and I, we talked about this, I think maybe on one of the podcasts, is getting rid of that word, dyslexia, for learning difference.
Mm-hmm.
You do that, now we've got a massive umbrella. And they can make any policy, they want, because it doesn't single, puts everything on umbrella. It's crazy.
It is. And I think, because even us being as educated we are in this world, it's like, okay, there's certain words, and those are like, again, I've talked about semantics. Semantics are so important sometimes because it's like, okay, identified and diagnosed. That's the same thing, right? No, it is that. It's very different. So a outside medical doctor, and psychologist, and neuropsych, and there's like a couple other ones under there, can diagnose the 5Ds. Now, ADHD is even different too. And that's what's really confusing. You have to have a medical diagnosis for that. And there is so much under the hood there's so many onions. We haven't talked about your onion, right? Like so many layers to peel for this. But as parents, you're worried about your child. You just want to get them help. You listen to the school and they identify, and you're in a good school district. You're okay. You go to the school and you're not in a good school district and they don't understand, you are going to get blindsided left and right. And you're going to get, like, you like the word gaslight. You're going to be so frustrated because you're going to be like, my kid is not, this is not helping. They're not excelling, or maybe they're moving up a little bit. But if you look at what the rest of the class is doing, they're going to say, oh yeah, he's okay. He went up 1 level when everyone else went up 6 levels. Johnny's getting further and further behind. And if you don't have that outside diagnosis where you can say, okay, this is what you need to do. And if you can't do it, then then that's where like the school sometimes has to outplace you to a dyslexic school. And there's a lot in that.
Yeah. In my head, it's just, I talk about giving them control as, you're giving the government, you're giving the school districts, you're giving all of them full control. And I just thought about, it's just as we're speaking about this, I never thought about this before. Right? Because they all have to do is go and change one thing, then your kid's screwed again. Like I said, haven't thought about this till just as we were speaking just now, going, they have control because there's no formal diagnosis.
It's an identification. They identified, right?
Yeah. And those are huge, those are huge words. And if they go in, I'm not saying they have or are going to, it just, in my mind, obviously, Mr. Poo-Poo Hair Pants, looking what they could do, which could even hurt kids more, just by doing what we're doing right now. We are at their fingertips. Never mind the fingertips; they're full grip with all this.
The ball's completely in their court.
Yeah,
it's completely in their court. And right now, with everything changing, it is. If you don't have a doctor's diagnosis, we don't know where the education system, it's gonna turn around. I have hope, I have faith, because I like unicorns and rainbows. I mean, first of all, it's not gonna get any worse. In my opinion, it's not gonna get any worse because it's such a shit show. It's been a shit show that, I've dealt with this now with 3 kids with the processes, and it is a shit show, and it is maddening, and it's scary, and it's frustrating. Go ahead.
No, it's just we're talking to people who don't understand.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so that's one step. The second thing that's very hard is the other thing we were talking about is a lot of neuropsychs are not covered by insurance. And there is a very high price tag on that because it's a lot of work for a doctor to do. It's not that the doctors are like, oh, I'm going to charge $15,000 because, I mean, listen, there are some that have those price tags.
I've heard up to $15,000. I want to say it was in California. What I've heard, my range, and I've heard is, cash, $3,500 to $15,000 is the range that I've heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, when Montgomery got diagnosed, he's 20 now, and that was when he was in 2nd grade. I don't know what age that is. 7, 6, 7,
something like that.
It was $7,000. So it is a lot. Now, also the doctors that are popular in certain areas are going to be more money. The wait list is going to be longer. The other thing that's really important is you have to, when you're looking for a doctor outside, when you're looking for a neuropsych or a psychologist, there's many questions you have to ask because there's a lot of them. I shouldn't say a lot because I'm generalizing. There could be some that don't also do thorough. I know when we were in Connecticut, there was something, it was I called it the factory, and I would tell everyone, do not go to the factory. You're basically going to get a cut and paste. And unless your kid is super severe, they're going to be like, boom, 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 and send it out. Boom, 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 and send it out. And you're not going to have any, and it's going to be really frustrating. And they're going to miss, if there's a slight, like with my other 2, there could be a slight learning disability, which still you want to know. You want to have it diagnosed and identified because you want it to be able to help them as they continue through life, feeling like, oh, this is why I struggled. It's not that I'm dumb. It's not that I'm, stupid in math. I have dyscalculia. It's not that I'm dense or thick-headed or whatever, words people use.
And those 2 words right there, identified and diagnosed. If you're diagnosed, can there be a mistake? Absolutely. Nobody's perfect, right? But truly, you can't identify anything if you can't diagnose anything.
Mm-hmm.
So really, right, they're crossing some muddy lines there. The only way you can truly get that diagnosis is getting that diagnosis. It's interesting, they're very close, identified or diagnosed. And probably if you asked 100 people, 100 people would say, they're very different.
Mm-hmm. And again, it's a law thing. The school cannot diagnose. They're not doctors. Even if they're a school psychologist, went to med school and decided for whatever reason that they wanted to be a school psychologist, they cannot do it. And so it's almost like a false safety.
I always thought about I always said, think maybe that, 18% of people have been diagnosed. That, again, not looking anywhere. That was just me.
Yeah, just your
Just my, after understanding this more, that goes down to me to single digits for me. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe 80% of the people that we've spoken with for the foundation over these years have been identified, not diagnosed.
Right. Or they are self-proclaimed because then their kid got it, or maybe they're like, well, I did struggle in
We
reading.
understand.
But that's the other thing is like a lot of the people that we do talk to. I mean, we've had some people that are like, I can't talk on it because I was never truly diagnosed, but I really feel like I was, I am dyslexic or whatever. And it's like, it's a really uncomfortable situation for people to be in. And if you don't know, and you're like, I'm just assuming I am because my child is, and I really struggled, but I don't really want to talk about it because I feel bad, like saying I am one of you and I'm not, or we've had people say, oh, my kid is, I must be. And I understand what you guys are saying. And then it's also funny because you're like,
and
no,
those
you
are
don't,
fine
but
because we can tell, right away by the conversations. It's, just being identified and diagnosed. They seem to be very, very, they seem to be the same thing. And they're massively, massively different. And, it's a lot of stuff, a lot of this kind of stuff can really rear its head the older it gets, right? The older kids get, the harder things get. And schools haven't made it easy because then you got to show your work, and and now you get into you get into high school. Obviously, you've gone through it with 2 in high school, and then and where all this all comes into play massively is when you go to college for your SATs, ACTs. You can't get extra time if you don't have this, right? This is where this stuff can really make a massive difference being identified and diagnosed.
yes. And that brings up a very good point because right now, since Penelope was outside diagnosed, I got a 504, but I have to go through a whole different department for College Board. And that is for APs and for SATs and ACTs. So that's the other thing parents have to understand. Just because you're getting your 504 or your IEP, if your kid is taking AP classes, they're a whole different division that is going to determine. And if you just have a school diagnosis, they're going to turn you down. Not diagnosis. If you're just identified in the school, they're going to turn you down. And I've seen it time and time again. And I'm here because I'm like, okay, this is going to be interesting. If they say that she can't X, Y, and Z. Now, Penelope also doesn't extra time for her.
Well, that's beside the point. You don't need to.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but that's not the point. Right.
Right.
Doesn't matter if you're a good student, bad student, you should be able to
do it.
But I'll get their point of view. This isn't a diagnosis. Why are you bringing this to me? This is like, oh, you're right. You're not. This isn't that doctor diagnosis. So I will defend and understand. It's crazy that you have to go outside to a different division, but I understand their point of view too, though. Right?
Because kids are going to try to, there's going to be kids taking advantage of the system.
But this isn't a doctor diagnosis, right?
Right.
This isn't a full neuropsych. There's nothing there. So how can I give that to you when you're telling me that, your knee hurts. Oh, what you say? I can tell you whatever I want. My back hurts, whatever. Until there's a diagnosis, then you have to participate. I respect that and I understand that, but this is where it is massively different.
Yep. And you have to, I was just listening back because someone asked me about the episode that we did with my nephew and Montgomery. So Bradley and Montgomery. And I only listened to the first beginning because I was like, okay, I can send it. Because I remember I was like, what did we talk about in the beginning? Bradley talked about the woman that took over the Catholic school. And I actually haven't even talked to my sister about this. I don't remember what happened. But they were going to, if you had a diagnosis or identified, she was going to say you weren't allowed to take an AP class. And the family went, and families went crazy. That's also would prohibit me from getting Penelope a diagnosis because she'd be like, wait, I'm going to take APs because those are the classes that challenge her. Regular classes don't challenge her. So it's so backwards, but that's why you have to understand what your school district does. it doesn't matter if your friend in New York told you this, you
Right.
need to check with your school district and find out
Especially
what their
states,
laws are.
you know,
States. Yep.
especially if
Especially
you're
now
crossing
too.
different states. Like you're obviously in New York, here in Illinois, very, very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
Districts can be different too, 100%, but states are massively different.
Massive. Yeah. So that's the thing. You really need to check it out before you go into it. The other thing is with insurance, like these things are not covered by insurance, but there are some insurances that will cover part, like ADHD, because it's a different medical. And so you need to know it as much. Trust me, I'm the last person that loves to learn about those kind of things. Like it's so tedious. I don't understand it. It's frustrating. But especially if you're someone that needs to watch the dollar, like if it's, I mean, these things are
These can be
expensive. Most
quite
people, it doesn't
expensive.
matter. Yeah. And life, the way life is right now, you need to be checking and making sure you're not pissing money away, everyone. So you need to do your due diligence and homework. Don't just take one person's word, ask around, ask the district, find out from the doctor if it is, do you take insurance? There was something that we were told you can do a single case agreement, which is a negotiable where you can get some money back if your insurance says that you can do out of network benefits. There's definitely some things that we can dive into, and we will, as we kind of uncovered as well as this landscape is shifting.
And asking if your insurance is covering it, ask for a full blown neuropsych. You're going there for ADHD, or if you're going there for a certain thing. But if you can ask for a full blown neuropsych, that's what I talk about here daily. Every time we're on there, you hear me blabbing with neuropsych. Ask for a full blown neuropsych. You're going to get some that'll do it all under that insurance because it's all grouped in together. You're going to have some that are going to try and separate it, and you put a cost to it that your insurance might cover. But that's the ultimate goal, is to get that full blown neuropsych.
Mm-hmm. And to this point, also, there's going to be some doctors, depending who you go to, that when you go, even if you have a referral and you say, hey, I would like an attention panel, they will only do the attention panel.
Right.
So also you need to look at your state where you are. If they're a doctor that's like, well, I know an attention and I want to then test for all of ask them what they're testing for. And if they say, oh, well, you just asked me for doing an attention panel, and you're going to a neuropsych, get the educational, get all of it done, because it's, as Brent says all the time, it's a blueprint. It's a window into your child. It's a window if you're an adult getting diagnosis, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a whole window into everything, not just one piece of the puzzle. You want to get the whole puzzle. You just don't want the one piece. So you go and you have to ask those questions. Don't feel like, I feel bad asking questions. I feel like I don't know what I'm talking about. This is how we learn. This is how you understand. This is how you move forward.
Curious George.
Yeah, those are my questions.
This is, very different. If you're walking into, a neuropsych for the first time, it's a lot. We've all been in your shoes, right? It's all these big words and this, and, and all you hear and all you see is your kid struggling. How do I fix it? But you can't fix anything you don't understand. And you can't be a resource or an advocate for your kid without understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding is knowledge and power.
Mm-hmm. And you can't take the school's word if they're like, no, you're fine, we identified it, because they're not going to say it. Like, you need to go outside. We cannot emphasize that enough. And if you don't have the funds, we understand that's the first step, but you need to make it a point of trying to find where you can get that outside diagnosis.
Right. It's, there'll be a day here sooner rather than later where it's a heck of a lot easier with more understanding with all this by the time we're done. But it's a key component. You said earlier, you're tired of learning, right? Everybody learns, but the earlier we can learn, the less trauma we have, the less pain we have, because there's more understanding. Oh, all right. 10 years old, when something happens 7, rather than something that happens 7 and you're 70 going, that's why. And I shouldn't have been doing this for 60 years. Well,
exactly.
Let's do 6 rather than 60, to make it easier for that kid.
I'm going to leave it at that. You guys know what to do. Like, rate, review, and share. And we will see you for another episode of Word Blindness Dyslexia Exposed.